At 2 a.m., my phone popped up with a photo sent by my husband's mistress. My husband was sleeping next to me, but she was showing off their intimacy. A chill ran through me, not anger, but a bone-chilling calmness. I found her company's official website and located the email address for reporting complaints. I typed in her name, the photo, and her department exactly as they appeared. I clicked send, then tossed my phone aside and fell asleep. The next morning, her frantic calls woke me up. I hadn't even woken up yet, and she had already ruined her reputation. Next, it would be my husband's turn. At 2 a.m., the city was asleep, with only the occasional passing vehicle, the sound of tires rubbing against the ground, proving that the world was still turning. I was awakened by the vibration of my phone. It wasn't a sharp ringtone, but a dull, persistent vibration, once, then again, against the wooden surface of the bedside table, transmitting unease to my nerve endings. Beside me, my husband Parker was breathing evenly and deeply. He lay on his side, his arm habitually draped over my waist, his warm body temperature permeating through the thin nightgown. This bed, where we had slept together for 7 years, now felt utterly unfamiliar and cold, penetrating to the very core of my being. I didn't move, just slowly, very slowly, turned my head toward the screen glowing dimly. A WeChat message. It was from an unfamiliar profile picture, a selfie of a young girl with makeup and a slightly provocative, sweet look in her eyes. I clicked on it. A photo instantly drained the warmth from my limbs. The background of the photo was a luxurious suite in a 5-star hotel, with messy white sheets and clothes scattered on the floor, all indicating what had just happened. The subject of the photo is Parker. He is lying naked from the waist up, fast asleep, his handsome profile looking particularly gentle in the dim light. A young girl, the owner of the profile picture, was snuggled up in his arms, holding her phone and making a victory V sign toward the camera. Her face was filled with unabashed pride and possessiveness. In the lower right corner of the photo, the timestamp clearly shows 10 p.m. last night. And at 10 p.m. last night, Parker called me to say that there was an emergency at work and he had to stay late, possibly working through the night. His voice carried just the right amount of fatigue and apology, and I gently reminded him to take care of himself and not work too hard. It turned out that his company was someone else's place of comfort. His project was working hard on someone else's body. I stared at the photo, but my heart didn't ache as I had expected, nor did I feel hysterical anger. An extreme coldness spread from the soles of my feet, inch by inch, freezing my blood and numbing my nerves. I felt like an outsider, my soul had left my body, coldly watching this woman lying on the bed, watching her ridiculous marriage, and this long-planned betrayal. I clicked on the post that girl had shared. The latest one was this photo. The caption read, "My special little puppy, goodnight kiss." There were also a few likes from mutual friends and some flirtatious comments. It turns out that the whole world knew, but I, his legitimate wife, was kept in the dark, like a complete fool. Exclusive little puppy. This nickname made me feel nauseous. The man next to me is 35 years old. He is a respected boss at work, a thoughtful husband in front of me, but when he is with other women, he becomes a docile little puppy. How ironic. I didn't wake him up, nor did I delete the girl's photo. I pulled back the covers, got out of bed barefoot, and tiptoed into the study. The floor was cold, and the chill ran up my feet and straight to my head, making me even more alert. I turned on my computer, and the light from the screen illuminated my pale face. In the search bar, I typed the girl's name, Stella. The post she shared revealed too much information. Her company, job title, and even a corner of her employee ID card appeared in her selfies. New media operations at a well-known internet company. I easily found the company's official website and located the email address for the disciplinary inspection department under the Contact Us section. I saved that glaring intimate photo, along with screenshots of her WeChat moments, and created a new email. Recipient, report email. Subject, real name report regarding the personal conduct of your company employee Stella, Operations Department. In the main text, I did not embellish or make emotional accusations. I simply stated the facts in the most calm and objective manner possible. I included her name and department, and even deduced her employee number based on the blurred numbers on her work ID. The evidence was irrefutable. I checked it once more and found no typos. My finger hovered over the send button, pausing for a second. Then, without hesitation, I pressed it. The email was sent. I shut down my computer. The whole process was smooth and seamless, without a hint of hesitation. Back in the bedroom, I set my phone to silent, tossed it onto the nightstand, and lay back down, covering my head with the blanket. In the darkness, Parker rolled over, his arm wrapping around me again, and he let out a satisfied murmur. I remained motionless, allowing the familiar smell of tobacco and the unfamiliar scent of perfume to mix together and overwhelm my sense of smell. I closed my eyes and forced myself to sleep. Even if the sky were to fall, I would sleep until I was fully rested. Revenge is a long battle that requires physical strength and mental energy. I couldn't exhaust all my energy in the first round. The next day, I wasn't woken up by the alarm clock, but by the noise around me. Parker was awake. Just like every morning for the past 7 years, he leaned over and kissed me gently on the forehead. "Good morning, honey." His voice was hoarse from just waking up, but so gentle it could have melted my heart. If it had been yesterday, I would have kissed him back and said, "Good morning," with a smile. But at that moment, his warm lips pressed against my skin, and I felt nothing but physical disgust. It was like a slimy, sticky slug crawling across my forehead. I forced myself not to push him away, just gave a faint aha and opened my eyes. "Did you sleep well last night?" he said as he got out of bed. It was okay. I sat up, my eyes casually glancing over the bedside table. His phone screen displayed dozens of missed calls. They were all from the same name, Stella. He clearly noticed my gaze and picked up his phone with an unnatural quickness. He glanced at the screen, a fleeting look of panic and irritation flashing across his handsome face. But he quickly regained his composure, slipped his phone into his robe pocket, and pretended he hadn't seen anything. "I'm going to freshen up," he said with a smile, though it seemed a little stiff. Watching him walk into the bathroom, I picked up my phone. In silent mode, it lay there quietly, but it had already been bombarded with messages. Dozens of missed calls and hundreds of WeChat messages. All from Stella. I opened WeChat, and line after line of hysterical text jumped into my eyes. "Chol. You bitch. You did this, didn't you? You ruined me. The company fired me. I just got promoted yesterday. You ruined my career. How dare you treat me like this? Do you think Parker will come back to you now? Dream on. He loves me. You're just an old, ugly hag. You just wait. I won't let you get away with this. I'll make you pay." I flipped through the curses expressionlessly, the corners of my lips curling into a cold smile against my will. "This is nothing. You're already falling apart? With such a low tolerance, you still want to follow others and become a mistress, stealing someone else's husband? That's ridiculous." I took screenshots of all the chat records, without missing a single one, and then deleted and blocked Stella from my contacts. The world is now peaceful. When Parker came out of the bathroom, his face was even gloomier. He wiped his hair while casually walking over to me and tentatively asked, "Honey, did you do something last night?" I looked up and met his scrutinizing gaze, my eyes filled with just the right amount of innocence and confusion. "What can I do? What are you talking about?" I asked back, my tone calm and unruffled. I stumped him with my question, and he shifted his gaze a few times, seemingly trying to find some clues in my expression. But I was too calm. So calm that he began to doubt his own judgment. Nothing. He stammered, averting his gaze. "I just thought you slept really soundly last night, like a log. I've been busy with work lately, so I'm really tired." I explained casually, then got out of bed. "I'll go make you breakfast." I didn't give him a chance to continue questioning me. The atmosphere at the breakfast table was somewhat tense. I sipped my porridge, while Parker absent-mindedly poked at the fried egg on his plate, glancing at his phone from time to time. Suddenly, his phone rang again at an inopportune moment. He looked at the caller ID as if he had been burned, and frantically pressed the hang-up button. "The company is pressing me, I have to go there right away." He hastily ate a few bites of food, grabbed his suit jacket, and hurriedly left the house. "Be careful on the road." I stood up, straightened his slightly rumpled collar, and gently reminded him. His body stiffened, he gave me a complicated look, then left as if he were escaping. Hearing the security door slam shut, the tenderness on my face vanished instantly, leaving only cold mockery. I knew that Stella's breakdown had already begun to hurt him. He was going to deal with that trouble. I slowly finished my breakfast, then turned on my computer and logged into the internal forum of Stella's company. A notice marked as urgent was prominently displayed on the homepage. Notice on the dismissal of Operations Department employee Stella for serious violation of company conduct guidelines. The announcement was harshly worded, stating that he had serious personal conduct issues, damaged the company's reputation, and caused extremely adverse effects, and decided to terminate his employment contract effective immediately, while reserving the right to pursue legal action against him. This was a harsh punishment intended to serve as a warning to others. I closed the webpage with satisfaction and deleted all traces of Stella from my phone, including call logs and screenshots. After doing all that, I dialed my best friend Avery's number. Avery is a lawyer, cool, decisive, and sharp-tongued, and my most trusted advisor. "Avery, are you free for lunch? I'd like to take you out." Avery immediately sensed something was wrong on the other end of the phone. "Something happened?" My voice was calm. "Parker gave me a big gift, so I have to return the favor." In a Western restaurant, Avery listened to my story, then dropped her knife and fork onto the plate with a loud clang. "Chol, you're awesome." She looked at me in shock, her eyes wide like copper bells. "You took care of the mistress in one night? With that kind of action, you're wasting your talent not being a secret agent." I stirred the coffee in front of me and didn't say anything. After the initial shock, Avery quickly regained her composure. Her professional instincts kicked in, and she immediately grasped the crux of the matter. "Well done. But Chol, you know that Stella is just a pawn. The real big boss is the one in your family." "I know." I raised my eyes and looked at her calmly. "So what are you going to do? Confront him directly and agree to a divorce?" Avery asked with a frown. I shook my head. "Showdown? That's too easy for him." My voice was soft, but it carried an unmistakable edge of ruthlessness. "I want him to lose everything he holds most dear, bit by bit, just when he thinks he has everything under control." Avery looked at me, her expression becoming complicated. She had known me for more than 10 years, from the shy young girl in college to the housewife who would risk everything for love. In her eyes, I have always been the traditional woman who cries for love, laughs for love, and values marriage and family above all else. But now, sitting across from her, I am calm, rational, and even a little cold. Those eyes that once sparkled like clear water now held nothing but an icy abyss. "Chol, you." She looked at me with concern. "You've changed." "People always change," I said, forcing a bitter smile. "I was forced to." "Yes, I was forced to. It was Parker who killed that innocent, soft-hearted Chol with his own hands. From now on, the one who survives is a vengeful warrior fighting only for himself." Avery sighed and held my cold hand. "Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Leave the legal stuff to me. Just remember to protect yourself and don't let him hurt you." "He can't hurt me anymore." I gently pulled my hand away. A dead person can't feel pain. My heart died the moment I saw that photo. That evening, Parker came home looking preoccupied and exhausted. He didn't mention Stella at all, only complaining about how busy he had been at work and how stressful his projects were, using that to explain his unusual behavior. I didn't call him out on it and continued to play the role of the dutiful wife. I ran him a bath, prepared his clean clothes, and when he complained, I handed him a cup of hot tea at just the right moment. He seemed to have let his guard down, but his eyes were still darting around. He kept picking up his phone, typing quickly, and then deleting his messages. I knew he was still dealing with Stella's mess. A young girl who had just been fired and whose future was ruined would probably not give up so easily. After taking a shower, he sat on the sofa in his bathrobe and suddenly said to me, "Honey, let's get a new car. I saw the new BMW X5 recently, and it's perfect for you." I was trimming the lilies in the vase when I heard him say that, and my movements paused. He rarely brought up such large expenses on his own. Although our family's financial situation was good, I had always been in charge of managing it, adhering to a conservative principle. "Why do you suddenly want to change cars?" I turned my head and asked casually. "It's not. I just think you work hard, so I want to reward you." He smiled, but there was a hint of flattery and guilt in his smile. I sneered inwardly. Reward me? He probably wants to spend money to appease the mistress who ruined his reputation. Or maybe he already senses that Stella will ask for a large sum of money and wants to take a cut from our joint assets in advance. The company has a lot of projects lately, and expenses are high, so let's take it slow for now. I used our tight family budget as an excuse and politely declined. His face darkened, but he didn't insist. That night, he slept restlessly, tossing and turning. I, however, slept soundly. From that day on, I began to quietly take inventory of all our family's assets. Real estate, savings, stocks, mutual funds. I photographed all the certificates and documents, backed them up, encrypted them, and uploaded them to the cloud. I also dug up Parker's credit card statements and bank statements from the past few years. I didn't know until I checked, but I was shocked when I did. His recent so-called business trips have all been accompanied by large credit card charges at local luxury stores, high-end restaurants, and hotels. Many of the payees are names I have never heard of. His infidelity is definitely not a coincidence. Stella is probably just one of his many victims. And behind those mysterious large purchases, the secrets hidden may be much deeper than I imagined. My heart sank little by little. This battle was tougher and dirtier than I had anticipated. In the days that followed, I was like a hunter lurking in the shadows, patiently observing my prey. Parker thought that the Stella incident was over and that life had returned to normal. He became increasingly considerate toward me, even taking the initiative to share household chores, accompanying me to the movies on weekends, and creating all sorts of romantic surprises. He believed that with these cheap gestures of affection, he could erase his betrayal and keep me as the foolish woman who was completely devoted to him. On the surface, I accepted all his kindness without batting an eyelid, but inside I was laughing coldly. The more he acted like this, the more disgusting I found him. In secret, I had already begun a more in-depth investigation. I noticed that he has recently been frequently transferring funds from our joint account to an unfamiliar account in small amounts and in batches. This operation is very covert, and if I hadn't checked each transaction individually, I would never have noticed. Using my expertise as a product manager, I searched through some public company information platforms and clues left by Parker on social media, and finally tracked down the owner of that unknown account. It wasn't Stella. It was a middle-aged man named Lon. This Lon was a very important business partner mentioned by Parker. Alarm bells rang in my head. This went beyond a simple case of infidelity. There were complex commercial interests involved, and it could even be illegal. To verify my suspicions, I set a trap. At a family gathering, I casually mentioned in front of my relatives that a friend of mine's company had recently conducted an internal financial audit and discovered that a senior executive had embezzled public funds and had been taken away by the police. As I spoke, I carefully observed Parker's reaction. His hand holding the wine glass trembled slightly, almost imperceptibly. Although he quickly covered it up by pretending to drink, the fine beads of sweat that instantly appeared on his forehead betrayed his inner tension. He was very nervous. That night, while he was taking a shower, I opened his personal computer. He had set a password, but I knew him too well. His password was always a combination of our wedding anniversary. Ironically, he used this loving password to lock away one dirty secret after another. I used professional data recovery software to recover some of the files he deleted. Several encrypted contract drafts, a detailed project plan, and some ambiguous email exchanges. I spent the entire night piecing together these fragmented pieces of information. A huge conspiracy gradually came to light. Parker was secretly preparing a new project behind his company's back. The source of funding for this project was highly unusual. Several large sums of money were transferred from the company lawn and then through various complex channels into several shell company accounts controlled by him personally. This is a classic case of embezzlement and commercial money laundering. He not only betrayed our marriage, but also betrayed his company, walking on the edge of the law. I told Avery everything I found out. After listening to him, she gasped. "Joel, this is much more serious than we thought. This is no longer a simple matter of divorce and property division. This is a criminal offense." Her tone was unusually serious. "Parker is playing with fire. You must cut ties with him immediately and be very careful not to get dragged down with him." Avery's advice was for me to immediately report this evidence anonymously, then file for divorce and get out of there as soon as possible. But I shook my head. No. My eyes flashed with a cold and resolute light. What I want is more than just getting out of here. If I report him now, he will certainly be disgraced and thrown into jail. But given his cunning nature, he will likely turn the tables on me, saying that we were partners in the crime, or even slander me as the mastermind. Moreover, the money he embezzled will be recovered by the company, and as his wife, I may not get anything. I cannot let him get away with this so easily. I will make him fall into the trap he dug for me with his own hands. I will make him, in his most greedy way, hand over the evidence of his own destruction to me. I began to secretly lay the groundwork. I organized all the key evidence, including transfer records, contract drafts, and email correspondence, into separate categories, backed it up on 3 different USB drives, gave one to Avery, hid one in the company safe, and kept one with me at all times. I consulted Avery on how to best protect my marital property in the coming storm. Parker, however, seemed completely oblivious to the danger ahead. He has been increasingly attentive to me lately, buying me expensive bags, booking Michelin-starred restaurants, and saying all sorts of sweet things. He thinks he is repairing our relationship with money and romance. But I didn't know that every gift he gave me and every sweet word he said were like shovelfuls of hot earth being added to his own grave. On the surface, I smiled and accepted all his kindness, but inside, I was counting down the days. "Parker, your doom is coming soon." Parker finally showed his true colors. On a romantic evening he had carefully arranged, filled with flowers and red wine, he held my hand and looked at me with deep affection. "Honey, I've been talking about a project with a very high return, but I'm still short of the startup capital. Here it comes." I sneered inwardly, but put on a look of concern. "How much are you short?" "About 3 million. He paused, his eyes fixed intently on me. "I was wondering, could you use the house you own from before the marriage as collateral for a bank loan?" "Don't worry, this is a joint investment between my husband and me. Once the project is successful, we'll split the profits 50-50. When that happens, I'll buy you a bigger villa." The vision he painted was beautiful, and his tone was full of temptation. If I were still the love-struck Joel of the past, I might have been moved by his words. But now, I just feel utterly disgusted. He not only wants to drain our joint assets, but now he even wants to get his hands on the only security my parents left me. This man is so greedy that he has no bottom line. I didn't agree immediately, nor did I refuse immediately. I looked hesitant and troubled. This is such a big deal. I need to think about it. Besides, it was left to me by my parents, and I'm afraid. My hesitation was exactly what he had expected. He immediately stepped up his offensive, making promises and swearing, even bringing up our future children and saying that everything was for the sake of our family. His acting was Oscar-worthy. I pretended to be persuaded by him, but I put forward my conditions. Husband, it's not that I don't trust you. But you know I'm a timid person. Can we sign a detailed investment agreement? Put it in writing, clearly stating the rights and obligations of both parties, especially the destination of the funds and who bears the risks. That way, I can rest assured. Parker visibly relaxed when he heard my request. In his eyes, I was just an overly cautious housewife with little intelligence. Signing the agreement was just a formality to appease me. Of course. Of course. He agreed readily, sign whatever you want, I'll follow your lead. He thought he was in control, but he didn't realize that he was walking step by step into the trap I had carefully set for him. I immediately contacted Avery and told her what had happened. Avery was so excited on the other end of the line that her voice was shaking. Chol, he's taken the bait. This is a golden opportunity. I'll draft the agreement for you and make sure he signs it clearly and unambiguously, so that he'll be dead clear when he dies. Over the next few days, I pretended to discuss the investment details with Parker, but behind his back, I worked with Avery to hammer out every word of the death contract. Avery is truly a top-notch lawyer. At first glance, the agreement she drafted appears to be a fair and reasonable joint investment agreement between spouses. However, it actually contains countless legal pitfalls. The agreement clearly stipulates that the loan funds must be used for their intended purpose and must be used entirely for the XX project described by Parker, and that Parker shall be fully responsible for the safety of the funds. The most critical point is that if the project is ultimately found to have violated any laws or regulations, or resulted in financial losses, Parker will be solely responsible for all legal liabilities and economic losses, and Chol will not be held liable in any way. To reassure me, Parker even took the initiative to add many unfavorable terms to the agreement, such as promising to recoup the investment within 2 years, otherwise he would compensate me with his personal assets. He cleverly assumed that these terms would never be triggered. The night before signing the agreement, I retrieved from a secret compartment in my study the copy of the dual contract that Parker had privately signed with Lon, along with some key records of fund transfers. I put it together with the investment agreement we were about to sign, took a photo, and sent it to Avery. Avery, tomorrow is the day we close the deal. The next day, we met at a law firm. Avery attended as our lawyer, dressed in a sharp black suit, exuding confidence and professionalism as she explained each clause of the agreement. Parker was getting impatient, but he listened patiently in order to get the money as soon as possible. In the Party B column, he signed his name in a flourish. The moment he finished signing, a look of relief and satisfaction appeared on his face. He even affectionately wrapped his arm around my shoulder and whispered in my ear, "Honey, just wait and see, you'll be a rich woman soon." I looked at his hypocritical face and sneered inwardly. Yes, I'll wait. I'll wait to see how you fall from the heavens to hell. He must have been eager to contact Stella, or some other Stella, to show off his success. As for me, the moment he walked out of the law firm, I packed all the evidence I had organized into an encrypted file. An anonymous letter of complaint. Recipients, Parker Company's Disciplinary Department, Municipal Economic Investigation Brigade, and Tax Supervision Bureau. Attachments, Parker and Land's shadow contract, detailed evidence of embezzlement and money laundering, and the investment agreement we just signed, which is like a death warrant for him. Click, send. Parker, it's game over. That anonymous letter was like a depth charge, sending shockwaves through Parker's world. The first to react was his company. Early the next morning, I heard that the company's senior management was furious, and the disciplinary and legal departments immediately set up a special investigation team and sealed all the computers and documents in Parker's office. Parker began to receive frequent calls from the company. At first, he tried to remain calm, hiding in his study and speaking in a low voice to the other party. But gradually, his voice grew louder and his emotions became increasingly uncontrollable. I didn't. This is slander. Someone is framing me. Evidence? What evidence? You can't just rely on an anonymous email. I want to see the chairman. I need to explain this to him in person. When he came out of the study, his face was pale, and his eyes were filled with fear and panic, like a rabbit being chased by hunting dogs. When he saw me, he rushed over and grabbed my hand as if he had found a lifeline. Honey. Something's happened at work. Someone's framing me. Believe me, I'm innocent. I withdrew my hand, poured him a cup of warm water, and soothed him softly. Don't worry, take your time and tell me what happened. My calmness helped him calm down a little. But he didn't dare tell me the truth, only vaguely saying that it was an internal power struggle within the company and that he had been made a scapegoat. I didn't press him further, just listened silently, my eyes filled with trust and concern. His cell phone rang again. It was Stella. He glanced at it and hung up irritably. But she was persistent and called again and again. He finally answered impatiently, walked to the balcony, lowered his voice and shouted angrily, "Are you done yet? I'm in a mess right now and don't have time to deal with you." Stella on the other end of the line was clearly no pushover either, her sharp voice coming through loud and clear. "Parker. Didn't you say you had everything under control? What's going on now? I heard your company is investigating you. Are you going to get fired? What am I going to do? What about the house you promised to buy me? Shut the fuck up. If you hadn't been so stupid and bragged about it everywhere, would this have happened? You blame me? If you weren't such a loser who can't even control your own wife, would she have reported you? You piece of trash." Two people, once the exclusive little puppy and the beloved baby, were now on the phone, tearing into each other like mad dogs, hurling accusations. I stood in the living room, holding a cup of water, listening to the curses coming from the balcony, a cruel smile curling at the corners of my lips. It sounds great. Like a moving symphony. The company's investigation was swift and decisive. The evidence was irrefutable. The chain of evidence I provided was so complete that even the investigation team was amazed. 3 days later, the company's internal decision was announced. Parker has been relieved of all duties effective immediately on suspicion of serious embezzlement, misappropriation of public funds, and commercial fraud. The company will formally report the matter to the public security authorities and reserves the right to pursue all legal remedies available. This announcement spread like wildfire throughout the industry. Once a highly respected figure who was admired by all, the young and promising Parker became a fugitive from justice overnight, becoming the laughingstock of the entire industry. All the perfect image he had carefully cultivated came crashing down. On the afternoon he was fired from the company, he called me countless times. I didn't answer a single call. He started sending me messages from all kinds of unfamiliar numbers. "Chol, it's you, isn't it? It must be you, you poisonous woman, stirring up trouble behind my back. What did I ever do to you? Why are you destroying me like this? Please, I'm begging you. Come out and see me. Let's talk, okay? For the sake of our 7 years of marriage." Threats, curses, pleas. I looked at those messages, feeling nothing inside. 7 years of marriage? When he was rolling around in bed with another woman, did he ever think about our 7 years together? When he was scheming to take the house my parents left me, did he ever think about the fact that we were married for 7 years? Now that he's lost everything, he remembers. It's too late. I blocked all his numbers. In the evening, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Parker standing outside, looking distraught. His hair was messy, his beard was unkempt, his suit was wrinkled, and his eyes were sunken. There was not a trace of his former vigor. He kept ringing the doorbell and banging on the door. "Chol. Open the door. Open it for me. You bitch. I know you're in there. Get out here." I ignored him, turned around, and walked into the kitchen to make myself a bowl of noodles. The steaming hot noodles, topped with a golden fried egg, smelled delicious. The shouting outside became the most delightful accompaniment to my meal at that moment. I don't know how long it took, but finally it grew quiet outside. I finished my noodles, washed the bowls, and saw a new message on my phone. It was from Avery. A photo. In the photo, two policemen in uniform were holding Parker and pushing him into a police car. He was still struggling, seemingly shouting something in protest. The caption read, "Cast the net. Clean and neat." I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I saved it and set it as my phone wallpaper. I must constantly remind myself that this is the fate of traitors. And this is only the beginning. A more painful ending lies ahead. After Parker was taken away by the police, I was summoned to the economic investigation team as a key witness in the case. In the solemn interrogation room, I did not feel the slightest bit nervous. I submitted all the evidence I had, including the USB drive containing evidence of his crimes and the investment agreement he signed himself, taking full responsibility for everything, to the investigating officer. The police officers looked at the clear and logical chain of evidence I provided and were surprised. An elderly police officer couldn't help but exclaim, "Mrs. Shen, your counter-investigation skills and awareness of evidence preservation are better than many of our professionals." I just smiled faintly and said, "I was forced to do it." The case progressed smoothly. In the face of ironclad evidence, all of Parker's excuses and denials seemed feeble and powerless. While in detention, he learned the whole story through his lawyer. He learned that the anonymous informant who had sent him to hell was his wife of 7 years, with whom he had shared a bed. He learned how I had set him up step by step, causing him to fall into an abyss from which there was no escape. He completely broke down. He used his last chance to talk to someone outside and called me. The moment the phone connected, his hysterical roar erupted from the receiver. "Chol. You heartless woman. I'll haunt you even in death. How could you be so cruel? After 7 years together, you could do this to me? You'll get what's coming to you. You'll definitely get what's coming to you." I listened quietly, waiting for him to finish yelling and catch his breath before speaking slowly and deliberately. "Parker, now you know what it feels like to be hurt?" My voice was calm, devoid of emotion. "When you betrayed me and schemed against me, did you ever think this day would come?" He was at a loss for words. "You think I don't know Stella? You think I don't know Wang Stella and Zhang Stella?" I sneered. "You think I don't know you're using our joint money to support your mistress? You think I don't know you're after my premarital property? Parker, you're not ruthless, you're stupid. You overestimated your intelligence and underestimated a woman. After being hurt so deeply, how resolute can she be?" After saying that, I didn't give him a chance to speak and hung up the phone, then blocked his number. From now on, this man will completely disappear from my life. With Avery's help, my divorce proceedings are going very smoothly. Parker's infidelity during our marriage, transfer of joint property, and even fraud against me are all evidence of his wrongdoing. The court ultimately ruled that, considering Parker's serious misconduct, I would receive 70% of all the joint property under our names. All of the illegal gains obtained by Parker through his embezzlement were recovered by the company. All of his personal assets, including stocks and deposits, were insufficient to repay his debt to the company. He was truly left with nothing. Parker's parents, upon learning that their son had been imprisoned and that their daughter-in-law was going to take away most of their property, came to my house in a rage. 2 elderly people were crying and wailing at my doorstep. "Chol. You can't be so heartless. No matter what Parker did, he is still your husband." Parker's mother sat on the ground, crying and wailing. "What have we done to you? Why are you pushing us so hard? You're going to kill us." Parker's father pointed at me, shaking with anger. "They tried to use family ties and morality to blackmail me." I didn't argue with them. I just calmly opened the door and invited them in. Then, in front of them, I turned on the projector. The screen began to show the evidence I had prepared. The first one was sent to me by Stella. It was an intimate photo of her and Parker. The second one was Parker's credit card statement, with all the purchases at luxury stores and hotels listed one by one. It was shocking. The third document is the yin-yang contract between Parker and Lon, along with the bank statements showing the transfer of funds. The final document is the investment agreement he signed in his own hand, which was an attempt to defraud me of my property. The elderly couple watched the screen, their expressions changing from anger to shock, then shame, and finally embarrassment. "Uncle, Auntie." I turned off the projector, my voice still calm. "I didn't force anyone. I was just protecting my own legal rights. It wasn't me who ruined Parker, it was his own greed and shamelessness. As for you, if you come back and cause trouble again, I won't hesitate to call the police, or send these things to all your relatives and friends so everyone can judge for themselves." My words were like a bucket of ice water, completely dousing their enthusiasm. They slunk away and never showed up again. And the other protagonist of that storm, Stella, also met her end. She was summoned by the police as an accomplice in Parker's financial case. She tried to shift all the blame onto Parker and portray herself as an ignorant young girl blinded by love. However, in the face of irrefutable evidence, her lies were easily exposed. Not only did she accept a large number of luxury items purchased by Parker with embezzled funds, but she also used her position to promote Parker's illegal projects. In the end, she paid the price for her vanity and foolishness. This sensational executive downfall case was widely reported by the media. Parker and I, once a model couple, became the topic of conversation during people's leisure time. But unexpectedly, public opinion did not harshly criticize me, the woman who tore apart her ex-husband. My calmness, rationality, and decisiveness have earned me the label of wise and courageous. I have become a role model for many women who have been betrayed. When I received the divorce decree stamped with a bright red seal from the court, I felt neither elation nor sadness. There was only a sense of relief, as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I did not tear it up, but carefully put it away in a safe. This is the medal I earned for winning a battle. It is also my ticket to a new life. On the day the divorce decree took effect, I felt like a bird that had been caged for a long time and finally regained its freedom. Even the air I breathed had a hint of sweetness.